Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss about brief history of psychology. When we talk about psychology, it comes from two Greek words. They are psyche and logos, where psyche has its own meaning, that means to breathe, soul, life or a spirit, where logos means the study of. Traditionally, the concept of psychology was believed to be the interest of religious teacher or healers in curing mental illness. So whenever there is any kind of illness which is not cured by medicine, that time people used to go in the place of religious healer because they have that belief he or she can curate this mental illness. So the history of psychology began from philosophy to till date modern psychology, and recently current period has started. Let's talk about the Greek period. Early history can be tracked back from early Greeks, where French philosopher René Descartes introduced the idea of dualism. So what is dualism? It's the mind and body are two entities that interact to form human experience. So, physiology also contributed to psychology's eventual emergence as a scientific discipline. Here, we need to understand that dualism is all about our mind and body, and these two parts are really important to form the human experience. Socrates, before 400 BC, the ancient Greek philosopher famously inscribed the maxim that is know thyself has got really beautiful meaning. That is, know your limits, understand the extent of your abilities, recognize your place in the social hierarchy, acknowledge your mortality. So here one need to understand their limits, extent of their abilities, and recognize the place in their social hierarchy. Before 300 BC, the ancient Greek naturalist and philosopher Aristotle theorized about learning and memory, emotion and motivation, perception and personality. Aristotle used the term psyche to refer to the essence of life. Plato, another philosopher, is equally respected in defining psyche as the science of soul. But the limitation is they never tried it to define it as a science. It stated, Plato stated, our mind is composition of three part of soul. As he was talking about the science of soul, he talked about our mind being composed of three part of soul, and they are black horse, white horse, and chariot. So it is majorly the combination of a superego and ego. So in pre-modern period, during mid 18th century, a German physiologist named Wilhelm Wundt opened the first psychology lab in 1879 at the University of Leipzig, Germany. He initiated the scientific psychology journey, so he is also known as the father of modern psychology. Structuralism in pre-modern period, where William Wundt and his student Edward B. Titchener are main contributors in structural psychology. Structural psychology mainly focused on consciousness. According to the structuralist, those who study structuralism, human consciousness can be broken down into small parts using the process known as introspection. That is small part of every consciousness has to be broken down to understand the human personality. And the next one is functionalism. So in the mid to late 18th century in America, William James He published a classic textbook that is The Principle of Psychology. He is also known as the father of American psychology. He mainly focused on how behavior actually works so that it helps people to live in their environment. Now, if you see in our society, in many places, we see that every humans are trying their best to fit in their environment, right? So the way they dress up, the way they talk, it's totally different. Why? Because they are trying to live in their environment. So functionalism focused on how our behavior actually works to help people live in their environment. Functionalists, those who study functionalism, used methods like direct observation to study human mind and behavior. Psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud, he is an Austrian physician who focused on unconscious mind. As structuralism was mainly focusing on consciousness, whereas Sigmund Freud focused on unconscious mind. He also proposed some theories related to personality based on unconscious mind. As Freud was working with the patient suffering from hysteria, he concluded that early childhood experiences and unconscious impulses contributed to the development of adult personality and behavior. Even in his book, The Psychopathology of Everyday Life, he has detailed how these unconscious thoughts and impulses are expressed, often through slips of the tongue known as Freudian slips and dreams. Now let's talk about the modern period. In modern period, we mainly talk about the behaviorism. During the early 20th century, as another school of thought known as behaviorism was introduced, behaviorism rejected the emphasis on both consciousness and unconsciousness that it rejected on conscious mind and unconscious mind. Instead, they purely focused on observable behavior. What behavior is seen, what behavior can be observed. Behaviorism focused purely on that. So, behaviorism had its earliest start with the work of a Russian physiologist whose name is Ivan Pavlov. So, Pavlov research on digestive system of dogs led to his discovery of classical conditioning process, which proposed that behaviors could be learned by a conditioned association. Next one is J.B. Watson. He is American psychologist. He became one of the strongest advocate on behaviorism, initially outlining the basic principle of his new school of thought in his 1913 paper Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It. Also, psychologist B.F. Skinner furthered the behaviorist perspective, like operant conditioning, which demonstrated the effect of punishment and reinforcement behavior. So here, mainly in behaviorism, we discuss about Ivan Pavlov, J.B. Watson, and B.F. Skinner. Next is humanistic psychology. In humanistic psychology, Carl Rogers, who is American psychologist, he mainly focused on humanism. While psychoanalysts looked at unconscious, impulsive, and behaviorist focused on environmental causes, humanistic psychology focused in the power of free will and self-determination. Next in Abraham Maslow, who also contributed to humanistic psychology, his theory, hierarchy of needs theory of human motivation, suggested that people were motivated by increasingly complex need because firstly people focused on basic needs. As soon as basic needs get fulfilled, human moves to the next level and so on to self actualization state. Cognitive psychology. Cognitive revolution began during the 1950s and 1960s. The main motive was to take hold in psychology. It tried to replace psychoanalysis and behaviorism. Psychologists were still interested in looking at observable behaviors, but they were also concerned with what was going on inside the mind. So, as a behaviorist viewed in terms of observable behavior, cognitive psychologists were concerned with what was going on inside the mind. So Ivan Pavlov, he researched in digestive system known for learning theory, classical conditioning, while J.V. Watson, he focused on behaviorism. You can also know about the Little Albert experiment, and B.F. Skinner operant conditioning, where humans learn from reinforcement and punishment. In current period, Steven Pinker, he is a Canadian American cognitive psychologist, linguist, and popular science author. His contribution in psychology is for his advocacy for evolutionary psychology and computational theory of mind. The next one is Leon Festinger is American social psychologist. He is famous for developing the theory of cognitive dissonance that suggests that people have a motivational drive to reduce dissonance by changing their attitude, belief, and behaviors, or by justifying or rationalizing them. And next one is Elizabeth Loftus, who is an American cognitive psychologist who is renowned for her work on malleability of human memory. She has conducted extensive research on misinformation effect and the nature of false memory. Still research is going on. So to sum up, psychologies and its theories are still emerging and changing as the time of generation is continuously growing and changing. Many school of thoughts have emerged. Also, study of historical backgrounds of psychology let us know its starting point and how it came up as a separate discipline. For the references, please look at the following references if you want to know more about the story of psychology in detail. This was the video related to brief history of psychology. Hope you like the video. If you like the video, please like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel.